Hey everybody, this is Pete Bartolozzi welcoming you to another Nuggets, Gems, and Pearls from God's Word. Today's pearl is entitled Love versus Fear. In 1 John chapter 4 and verse 8, the first part of it says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear." This verse reveals that the opposite of love is fear. You'd think it would say that love casts out hate, as this is the only comparison that we usually think in. With this context of 1 John, or within this context of 1 John, in verses 4 and 16, it tells us that God is love. That is, this is his nature. Thus, the contrast, love and fear, reveals to us that Satan's nature is fear. This is the first and ruling contrast, a contrast not of feelings, but of nature, or of natures. God's nature of love and Satan's nature of fear. That is, a contrast of spiritual natures. Once we have this understanding in our minds, then we can properly grasp what comes under this first and ruling contrast, what comes secondary, the contrast of love versus hate. This secondary contrast is affected by the primary spiritual nature that man yields to, whether God's or Satan's, love or fear. Again, the first contrast is a contrast of natures. The secondary contrast of love versus hate is based upon feelings and intellect. That is, it is based upon the mind, and thus determines one's concept of right and wrong. You see, God is love, and God hates things. Even though he loves people, God hates sin, unrighteousness, immorality. In Proverbs chapter 6, verses 16 through 18, or through 19, it speaks of 6 things God hates, 7 that are an abomination to him: a lying tongue, a false witness, hands that shed innocent blood, and so on. God's nature of love hates sin, or simply, love hates sin. That is, the nature of love, hates what is wrong. Under Satan's nature of fear, the concept of love and hate is reversed. Thus, their concept of right and wrong, morality versus immorality, and so on, are backward and can even be completely removed, believing there's nothing wrong or immoral. They love sin and hate righteousness. They claim that they love by embracing sodomy, or what we more commonly today call homosexuality, where in reality, you have to hate someone to say it's okay to be bound up in a sinful, degrading, perverted lifestyle. But since their concept of love versus hate is backward, they believe they are the ones who love and actually think, as Christians, that we hate people. And since they reject God, nor believe that there's a devil, they don't understand the contrast of God's nature of love versus Satan's nature of fear. And sad to say, since all too many Christians don't understand this first and ruling concept, some have been deceived to the godless, backward, worldly views, thinking that they are right when they are wrong. Don't mistake the feelings of fear with the nature of fear. They don't have to walk around with feelings of fear for them to be operating under the nature of fear, even though the feeling of fear is more present than they realize until they come to Christ. I trust that this biblical truth has clarified your understanding in these things, and I offer this as something to think about today. Be blessed.